Ladies and gentlemen, today on the program, I have for you an extra special treat, especially if you are an OG listener of the podcast, if you go back a long way and you're a bit of a nostalgia fan. I have for you today, for the first time in nearly 3 freaking years, a legit, genuine John Huff Podcast Roadisode. Insert crowd applause sound effect here. Yes, I have not been able to do a real Roadisode for a long time because there ain't been no road, kids. That has all changed because last weekend, our old pal Ken The Zen and I went on down Windsor way, spent the weekend in the studio recording the bed tracks for what I think is going to be a great new record by Fresh Breath. So, as is the tradition, in between sessions, we set up the microphones with Katie and Josh from Fresh Breath, and we did a Roadisode. And if you've been around any length of time, you've heard a Roadisode before, you know what that means. That means just a bunch of musicians and a bottle of wine talking it all out. And as is also the Roadisode tradition, it wound up being a silly conversation and a funny conversation, and it went to arcane places like psychics and haunted houses and 9/11 and the pandemic, of course. But then it morphed into what all Roadisodes seem to morph into, which is a deep, poignant conversation about living the dream, having courage, what it takes to make and live and imagine and execute the life you want. There is a lot of philosophy in this conversation. There's a lot of laughter in this conversation, and I really hope you will enjoy it. You know, Roadisodes have always been really popular episodes, and I'm very, very happy to present one now. I will do so with a caveat. This was a uncontrolled environment, uncontrolled conversation, not my normal studio setup, so what you get in those circumstances is what you get sound-wise. It sounds okay, but it may not sound exactly like what you're used to on the pod, so I apologize, you know, if the EQ is a little bit weird or the sound levels are not quite what you're used to. Put that aside, try to place yourself in the room with 4 friends, 4 bandmates, just talking about the good stuff, man. I want to thank you for being here. I do hope you enjoy this episode and you hopefully are inspired by it, encouraged by it, to hold on to the dream, get out there and start living it, kids, all right? So sit back, sit tight, get yourself a little glass of wine, put your feet up, and we'll get to it on the other side. Hello, you're listening to the John Huff Podcast. Oh, yay.
10 seconds can be agonizing, can't they?
In some rooms.
That's all it takes to make a baby.
I was waiting for somebody to break. This is a very special occasion. All right, we are doing the first Roadisode since... got it in front of me. February 4th of 2020, I released the last episode. That's nearly 3 years ago. It was Ken The Zen and me in Texas, having a good old time. We did the last Roadisode, and I am delighted to tell you that Ken The Zen is here right now. Say hello, Ken The Zen.
Oh my gosh. Howdy, partner. I tell you what, I reckon it will be a good time.
Everybody's been asking, where's Ken The Zen? He's back. He's alive and well. And esteem of esteem, we also have Katie and Josh Pascoe of Fresh Breath with us on this Roadisode.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Thanks for
Thanks for having us.
This is a special occasion. Now, in the tradition of Roadisodes, which I'm just trying to remember what they are, we always drink wine, and we are doing so this evening. And I have in front of me an inexpensive but lovely Primitivo, one of my favorite cheap table wines. It's like $10.95. It's the Botter Primitivo from Puglia, Italy. which is where most Primitivo comes from. Does anybody know what Primitivo is known as in North America?
Oh,
Ken the Zen's.
I did, but I knew something different.
Did you?
I did, and it was something about the wine, and I can't wait to try it.
What do we call Primitivo in North America? Anyone? Anyone?
Primavera.
9. Katie Pascoe?
I don't know, like a Merlot or something?
No. In fact, Primitivo is Zinfandel. If you have heard of Zinfandel, same grape, same thing. So
I thought it was an early version of Tivo.
This is actually a Zinfandel, but in Italy it is a Primitivo. And this is a nice wine. Primitivo, full-bodied, smooth, and tends to be a little bit sweet. So if you're into a bit of a sweeter red, Primitivo or Zinfandel is usually a good way to go if you're not into super dry wine. But let's partake of this Primitivo in the tradition of the Roadisode, which we have not been able to do because there's been no road for a long day.
Yes.
So cheers, everyone, for
Cheers.
being here.
Cheers. The fog is clearing.
Let's try it.
Very good.
Nice, right?
It's a nice choice.
So
Tastes like spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, right?
it's very Italian. I was in Italy in September, and I had a Chianti right from Tuscany, and my goodness, was it special. So look, before we go any further, I need to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you, all 3 of you, for being major league boosters of this podcast. Ken the Zen's been there from the beginning.
I was. True story. Still, I'll be there till the end.
Yes, you will, and thank you. Katie and Josh have been listeners for a long time.
Yes, we have.
You have supported me at times when it's been very difficult to continue on. You know, it's a struggle with any artistic endeavor.
Of course.
When it feels as though, you know, you're just not getting anywhere. And so it takes people like all 3 of you to offer that support to people. So I want to thank you publicly for being supports.
Of course. You're
to
very
this
welcome.
podcast.
You're very welcome.
Right?
John.
We haven't been able to do Roadisodes because there hasn't been a road.
It's true. I guess it was a long time ago.
The last one was a month before COVID shut the world down, from which we're only barely recovering now. But
It's true.
the Fresh Breath story continues on the road. You guys have been all over the place. Ken the Zen and I have not really. I toured last fall a little bit, but our lives have changed enormously, and we're still coming to grips with that. But Katie and Josh, what's it like on the road out there? We haven't been out for a while.
It's weird,
It's
man.
weird. It is.
Go on.
Every show has been weird. The audiences have been excellent, but also strange. It's just, I feel like everybody has their own comfort level coming out of what we just came out of. And some people act as if nothing happened, and other people are still afraid to leave their homes. So it was interesting, especially from coast to coast.
For us just to get back out on the road and drive, get some miles under us, get away from home and play for strangers, and all that feels great. I mean, that's why we do it.
Do you guys get stir crazy when you haven't been out for a while?
I'm going nuts right now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've been home for like a couple of weeks.
We've been
maybe.
home for a few weeks, and we've been trying to, we made a public announcement about trying to slow down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Well, we're in the studio now, you know, so like we're still not slowing down, but I get the itch to leave as soon as we get home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were home from tour like for one day, like one full day, rest day. And the next day, Josh was like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like we just got home and we're like trying to relax. And it's just like personality trait, I think, with both of us. So we like to be busy, and especially when it's music.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we've noticed this, like Denny used to say, the great Denny Goche, that you kind of got to be an animal if you're going to do this full time. And it kind of gets into your system in a way that people who do not tour can't really understand, you know, because people will go away for like a week-long vacation and they get their fill of that. But it's like, if you're a road dog, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 2 months, maybe for you guys, it's like, that's being away, you know, there's something feral about that. And you guys live in your van.
Yeah. Someone asked me last night, they're like, so how much out of the touring, like, are you actually staying in your van? I'm like, 100%.
Oh.
They're like, no way.
Yeah.
Not one hotel. I'm like, we didn't. Like, we stay with some friends here and there.
Yeah, every once in a while.
But
most
like
of the time.
for Texas in January, like they were like, so are you staying like at a hotel? Oh, we're staying in our van the whole time.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I love the van though.
It's easier for just the two of us because it's just the two of us. We're married, and we don't have you guys sleeping in the van with us. That would be interesting.
Not yet.
You know, I guess one can only hope. But it just
dream,
it just makes it easier for us. And like we've been into the van life culture for quite some time now, with like redoing, like, because ours is a converted Savannah camper van, or like it's not an actual camper van, it's just a cargo van. But so it's stealth, and we're just kind of into that whole culture. So it made it was a very easy transition to being like, well, we love this van life, and then now we get to tour and play music and also do this van life thing that's very interesting to us. So I don't know, it's great time.
Love it.
You guys were not always full timers though, right? There came a point.
No.
Tell us about the point where, because Fresh Breath has been around as an entity for a long dang time.
Yeah.
I was just looking through, there's a stack of CDs over there. It's like you guys have put out a lot of music.
The first like professional CD that we put out and put on iTunes, and that was 2010. And that was when we got married. And we've been putting music out ever since then. And even before that, we would like just burn CDs and like sell them to our friends and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a long time. But yeah, it was 2019. We decided we were tired of being 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Right.
And we both had full-time jobs, and we played music and basically did music full-time too. It felt like maybe we were playing like every weekend, working all week. So just didn't feel like we had any time to ourselves. And we were like, well, the music thing's pretty good, and that's what I really want to do. And we both had like great jobs, and we just weren't happy with those jobs. And not that we weren't good at it or that it wasn't, a good source of income or anything like that. It was just not really what we wanted to do passionately. So
was there like a moment? Was there like a moment where it was like, okay, we have to decide right now? Was there something that pushed you to that?
Yeah, there was.
What are you allowed to tell us?
Yeah, I can tell you.
All right.
So I went and saw a psychic medium.
Oh boy.
And yeah, and she, at the time, like the job I had before was working with my mom. She has a travel business. I worked with her for a decade, and I was going to take over the business. Really good business, out of your home, makes a lot of money. It seemed like an easy pick, right? I was good at it. I liked it, but it just wasn't music, right? So, and I knew that if I was going to do it, it would probably push music to the back, to the wayside eventually. I kind of knew that deep down, but I was still going forward with taking over the corporation at this time when I went to go see the psychic medium. And she was chatting about, what she saw coming up for me. And she was like, oh no, like you're not going to take that over. You're not taking over your mom's business. You're going to be way too busy. You're going to be traveling. You're going to be on the road. Like you're going to be playing music, and you won't be doing that. And at the time I was like, but that's my plan. And it scared me, and I was like, I think, she's probably can tell that deep down I don't really want to do that. And so she's like pulling that out. I don't know how they do that, but anyways.
Yeah.
I went home after, told Josh, and I just couldn't ignore this pit in my stomach that she knew, I knew, and I was like, okay, she brought it to light basically. Like, you don't want to do that. And so it was like that afternoon after I was done talking to her that Josh and I were like, what are we going to do? And we're like, we got to quit our jobs and do this, right?
We took 6 months or so and kind of just got ourselves set up. And then like, it was just the best timing ever because we're like quitting our jobs in 2020. So we had 3 months of like, woo, we're going to do this. And then the world shut off.
And we set we did it very responsibly at the time. I thought it was anyways. It's like we worked I told my mom a year in advance so that I would give her time because it was just the two of us that worked in this business. So like she needed me, and everything that we set up with the travel business was a year out. So I was like, well, if I tell her now and I take care of everything that we've set up for the year and help her out, she's not going to be upset. And she wasn't. She was obviously very happy for me, but it was weird, but I knew a year out what the plan was, but I still had to work that whole year. So it was really difficult.
Rough, man.
And we were like also ramping up the music stuff because it was like, well, we want to also be doing this, so we can't like take any breaks there. So it was working and doing that. And then, 2020, I was done. Josh was done. He quit a little earlier than me.
Yeah.
And
to prep.
Yeah.
Good. That's very responsible.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes.
but in that time too, we kind of set ourselves up saying like, okay, the first year of being full-time musicians, we're probably not going to make any money. So we saved money for ourselves, knowing that. So it did help, I guess, with the pandemic, obviously, and everything. But we didn't realize we would be making no money.
Yeah.
Like we thought we would be making some money.
Less money. Just not none.
Zero money. So yeah, that was hard. But we're still doing it. We haven't gotten any other...
Yeah. On
Joe
a,
jobs,
like
so.
a more positive note about the world shutting off, though, is like I feel like our actual chops got quite a bit better. Where a lot of musicians were like, "Oh, I get to put my instrument down for a bit," and then, but we just picked them up and we played every day. And I feel like the couple years where we were locked inside, it was Katie and I's band locked in a house.
Yeah.
And so we just, as my mom would say, didn't let the grass grow under our feet. We just played every day. We rehearsed like 2-3 times a day. So, yeah.
That's great. That's great. But I mean, there must have been a certain terrified euphoria when you actually quit the jobs.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing this. Like the universe responds to that action.
Yeah.
That's a scary moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
exciting. It was more excitement than fear, I think.
Was it?
And like that's how we knew that we were making the right choice, because we were both so pumped. And just the
we
fact
got a
that,
lot of other like family members and friends projecting their concerns and fears on us about
Of course,
it.
yeah.
And I think that was the hardest part, to be like, to tell everyone else, like, don't worry about me. Like, I'm going to worry about me. Like, I don't know. That was the difficult part of it anyway.
I feel like if you could survive as indies over the past 2 years full time, then you're sailing. Like that. What's going to be harder than the last 2 years?
we had to get really creative.
Yeah.
Knock wood, of course. Yeah,
Touch some
but
wood.
it's like
knock on wood.
Yeah.
if you can maintain a business and keep doing this through that pandemic, then everything else nearly has got to be pretty smooth sailing. I mean, for Ken the Zen and I, it was pretty much an exact opposite.
Complete.
Like music
In a
disappeared
way.
for us.
Yeah. What a trip it was, right?
Right?
Going and going and going, and then all of a sudden stop.
Yeah.
For me, that was scary for a second, but it was actually completely enjoyable and life-changing in a way, because after COVID started, it's like I decided, okay, I'm taking 6 months off and just, reflect and whatnot. And I got to see my wife more in those 6 months than I had in the previous 10 years.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was really grateful to be home, and I had such a wonderful life there. So I was glad to be there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
Because I don't travel with her in a house I made.
Yeah. Right. It's a
Like
much
these guys.
different thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I know.
Exactly. That's I feel like we're super lucky to
We realize
to be able
how...
to spend the time together that we do, and like so we're like people are like, you're living the dream. It's like, yeah, we are, but it's scary as all
Totally.
scary can be, because it's like you never know what's going to happen. But also we're spending all the time together. We get to see, like, we saw so much of Canada this year. It's ridiculous. We get to go from PEI all the way to BC, and you don't just like fly there, or you don't just drive to the city. Like, we stop and we stay in these little ridiculous towns or parking lots, and you get to see some of the gnarliest and weirdest stuff.
Yeah.
And like, and it's just because we love it. Like, that's the part of the van life that like most people don't get to see, especially even if you tour and you guys do hotels mostly, right?
Oh, yeah.
You get to see the motel chaos, right? But like
That's a
we get
thing.
to see
We
like
create
the
it.
dirty,
Pen technician.
grimy sides
Yeah.
of some like cities and stuff that
Right,
like not a lot of
yeah.
people get to see.
That's the best about van life, I think. It's like you're really fully immersing yourself in like these places, and you kind of meet up with those same type of people, right? Like
Right.
you're in a Walmart parking lot one night and you're going to run into another van lifer or a guy that's going across the country in his camper or something, and
Some of
You
which you
meet
don't want to meet.
some characters. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, I know myself. I've stayed in hotels and motels my career, and some motels in New Brunswick, you know, the doors are outside and it's facing the parking lot, and you're lucky if you have a door, and you're definitely lucky if it locks. So you guys might be in a more secure place, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, the last time we were in London, we stayed, I forget what parking lot it was, somewhere near a Walmart, right with the Chucks there, the Fanshawe side of town. But we just got back from walking the dog, and then all of a sudden a coyote like walks behind the van, and we're like in like suburban area, like we're like, this is ridiculous. And we're like, I don't know. It's just so funny. We're like, I didn't think we'd have to worry about coyotes in the city with the dog that we just put back in the van. But yeah, I don't know. You just see random stuff like that. It's funny.
That's true. Lounge lizards, I suppose.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I've heard about such things from truckers on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was the night that at 3 a.m, we were like, it was like Walmart parking lot, but then there was like an apartment complex like next door. Like 3 a.m, there was just a guy out, not outside the van, but it sounded like he was, and he was just screaming at the top of his lungs, like just for, I mean, maybe he had a reason, but for us, it was just like we woke up to this guy screaming outside the van, and I'm like, van life, this is fun.
Now, so you're living the dream, people think. Right?
Yeah. I'm terrified.
Because they only see that part of it, and it's the same for any sort of road person. It's like, oh man, it's so exotic what you're out there doing.
It comes with all those things, though.
It's exotic for that, hour and a half or whatever that you're on stage or whatever. And then there's a lot of not so exotic about it, but there's a weird way that you learn to love that stuff.
Exactly. Exactly.
It takes a certain
a certain personality.
Absolutely.
And person to like, that was awesome. Like, that was terrifying. Like, no, that was awesome. But I don't know. We enjoy every minute of it. Like I said, we're fortunate, we're blessed, and we got really creative over the last couple of years, and it only allowed us to take that with us. Like, we were selling everything from rolling papers to, I was like hand carving rolling trays, and like we were just selling everything, just trying to stay afloat so we didn't have to go back to work. And like, now that we're back and actually doing what we want to be doing, now there's these other avenues that we've opened up that is all on top of what we were doing. So
Like, did you get into bongs? Is that
not quite? I'd love to start blowing glass, but no, not quite into that. But paraphernalia of all sorts, though.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Freshbreathband.com.
Yeah, hey, it's out
shameless
there.
Plug.
It's out there. Go buy your merch. Go support your local bands. Everybody's putting up their Spotify things right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the annual thing. And then there's always the meme that's like, those folks did not get paid anything for that. And I'm not going to bag on Spotify because my podcast is on that platform. But it's funny. Yeah, like, support people, buy their stuff. But you guys are super inspiring because you're the proof that it's possible to do. Even through a pandemic, you guys managed to do this. And I think one of the reasons I'm excited to have you on the show is because it's important for people to see that it's possible, right? Yeah. So we live in a very fearful world. We live in a world that puts you in a box, and it tells you that this is how your life has to unfold, and this is how you have to make a living, and this is what's okay and what isn't, and what's possible and what isn't. Taylor Swift's getting $22,000 a ticket. And you think it's impossible to achieve a music career. It isn't. And you're the proof. And I find that really exciting.
Thank you.
Like, managing expectation, I think, is the biggest thing, like being able to do it for a living, being able to pay your bills, like the life choices you've made up to that have a lot to do with whether you're able to or not, like, because we've had fallen into the trap of new cars and debt and all that stuff, you know what I mean? And then, like, once you start going down that road, then it's really hard to get out of it. To make a decision to take less money for more joy, so we kind of figured that out early. Like, we sold everything to do this. We sold our camper, we sold our boat, we sold our second car.
Your yacht?
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a yacht. It was the boy.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, but like, we never had anything like brand new and crazy, but like, we had the extras, right? Like, we had this camper trailer that we used twice a year, and we didn't really need it, so we're like, get rid of that. And with the second car, it's like, well, we're going to be traveling together to work every day. We don't really need it. Yeah. Get rid of that. So like, the expenses, and a lot of people, I feel like they're not that they're not willing. I just feel like it's so far out of what, I guess, societal norms tell you. that it makes it hard for people to do. But we were willing to make those sacrifices with like not the hopes, but like knowing that if we did this, that those things would come back to us. But
the faith. Ken The Zen, talk about that.
Faith?
Yeah.
Great song by George Michael.
Indeed.
Oh my gosh. Next to Freedom, which was awesome.
Right.
Yep.
That's
don't want to sing too much.
Sing away, man. Sing away, my friend.
Don't want to be taken out.
This is a Roadisode. I mean, you're sitting in front of a couple of pretty dynamite singers, but
I know. Well, three dynamite singers.
That's kind of you.
To be honest.
That's kind of you. That faith thing, that's vitally important. And that's really the difficult piece.
Mm.
Is it going to work?
Yeah.
And you have to believe that it can and that it will.
Yeah.
And sometimes people need the proof in order to have that belief, which again is why I'm excited about you guys. And we're here in this space right now because Ken The Zen and I have come down to your place to record a new record with you guys. And that is certainly an honor for me. It's been an honor to play with you for the last year or so as part of the Fresh Breath fam. And I mean, here we go again. You just keep working.
I know.
Just keep accumulating.
We can't stop ourselves.
Right?
We can't. It's funny. Because there's other people in the industry, and there's, again, I think it's a testament to there's no one way and there's no right way. There's no wrong way to do things. I don't think you can make lots of mistakes, but obviously that's learning. But I just mean to releasing music, like we put out everything that we write, we always write. And then we're like, if it's good enough to stick around that we keep playing it for the last 6 months or 7 months, or we're just like, well, that's got to go on an album then, because what are we doing with these songs if we don't put them out to the,
That's right.
So, but then there's other people like we know in the industry that'll be like, okay, we recorded this 7-song album or EP and we're going to sit on it for 6 years and try and shop it and try and get, this deal or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're sitting on this same music for the last 7 years. And it's just not how we work because we write for therapy. So it's like you write all these songs. You don't want to just let them sit. That's how I feel.
Absolutely.
Anyways,
I mean, the Beatles, I don't know if you guys heard of the Beatles, but they were the band from England. No, close. And they were only, recording artists for 6 years, 7 years, and over 300 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
So I get it, and that's the way to do it, right? Yeah. If you have the art in you, get it out.
Yeah.
And believe, have faith, surrender to your dream. Yeah. Otherwise,
what are we doing?
That's right.
One thing Josh said to me, like really early on in our relationship, and he has been saying this for years, ever since I've known him, but he's always had just, what is the saying? He said, no false hope, but blind faith.
Blind faith, no false hope.
And he always told me we're destined to do this. This is what we're going to do. And he's told me this every day almost since I've known him. In some way or form, it comes out, and he's just got this strong mental.
Even when we were really bad.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's going to get better. We can't stop.
That's when it matters the most. So you continue.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, you just quit.
But what we make.
Yeah.
The wisdom of the Terminator.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, so Josh is very positive that way when it comes to second guessing yourself or thinking that maybe what are we doing? Not saying we don't have those moments, because we do a lot. Crippling self-doubt and anxiety about what we're doing. I mean, yeah, but it kind of always falls back into this mantra that he has and that he's been saying to us for years. And it almost freaks me out a little bit because he's been saying it since we were 20 years old.
Yeah. Thoughts and words become things. You know what I mean? You just say the stuff until you believe it, and then it starts coming into your life. So, and again, it's don't be wishing for the millions, wish for the one that comes, the $1 that comes, and just keep stacking those up.
Well, I think the best life that you live is the one moving forward. And when you're doing that, if you don't have fear, then maybe you're not going on the right path, because you're supposed to be scared and you're supposed to break that fear. And I think that's part of the reason why we're here, to experience life.
Absolutely.
Is to everything that you're afraid of, is exactly the thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah, steer towards it, right?
It's unbelievable,
Yeah.
but yeah, you
That's
guys are great.
main thing that I always say to Josh that is, I feel the most exhausting as being a musician and an entrepreneur, is that not only do I have to push myself on stage, but I have to push myself in every other aspect of this career. And it's exhausting. Like, it's mentally and physically draining to be constantly pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Whether it's like, it's one thing to do it with music, or whether you're recording or tracking or something like that, performing even more. But then, you know, you're also doing it with picking up the phone and trying to book a tour, or, you know, oh, we're going to sleep in our van and travel across the country. Like, all of these things are so wildly uncomfortable for me. I want to do them and I really love it, but there's 100 million aspects of all of it that are like terrifying.
But do you feel as though you're becoming better at that stuff?
Yeah.
Like better at living in that space?
Better at handling, better at living in that space for sure.
Yeah.
We cry a lot less now.
You do.
But yeah, the cold calls, the 1,000 no's, you have to get thick skin too, right? That's the
For
thing.
sure.
Yeah, that was my
the
biggest.
rejection is like the biggest key. Like, you just get shot down and shit on so much. But it's not like the people who you're talking to's fault. Like, especially with cold calls, like if you're cold calling a bar or a venue, and they've never heard of you, or you're from Canada and it's in Texas, you can't expect them to just be like, yeah, sure, come on down. You know, like, you have to be able to be like, this is crazy. And they may respond like I'm a crazy person for being like, yeah, no, we're coming down, or we're coming way out here. And they just be like, no, because there's a guy down the street that I know that I went to high school with. We could hire him. You know what I mean? So like, you have to expect to be shot down so much. But again, it's like, what was the ratio when we were talking to a friend of ours in the industry, does PR, Danny O'Shea from My Son the Hurricane.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like 50
to
emails to one response,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And like that one response might be like, oh, we'll think about it.
maybe.
You know, so if you do the math, it's like you're sending hundreds of emails to try and put together
if
20
you only
shows.
send 100 emails, you might only get 2 responses back. So you're not sending enough emails, and that's overwhelming, right?
It is, yeah.
But it kind of gives you a little bit of insight to how much more you should be doing to get those things that you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Right.
booking your own tours, it's like you have to send thousands of emails over the course of a couple of years to like get your 40, 50. And then if you make your contacts, it gets easier over time. But like the cold calls are just, there's a lot you got to do.
You know, let's talk about the great one. Do we know who the great one is, John?
Gretzky?
Wayne Gretzky.
All right.
He has a famous quote. Excuse me, and I'm sure John knows it, so he's
I
gonna.
do. I'm
he's
not
gonna-
gonna,
I know
no,
you
I'm
would.
not going to say it. You're going to say
No,
it.
because
This
I'm
is your
gonna mess the
story.
words up. I know I know the meaning,
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
and that's
Oh, yeah.
and that is, you guys. If you do not take the shots,
Yeah.
it's impossible. It's hard. Life is hard.
Yeah, and there's a professionalism that comes along with this. This is not just two people getting in their van and going off into the great blue yonder. That's a movie. This is reality. In order for that to work, the booking has to be done. The calling has to be done. The music has to be tight. The performance has to be tight. The professionalism has to be there in every aspect of your business.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Yeah.
And this is not a lark. And I think there are probably people who want to treat it as a lark, and they don't last because they're broke. You know?
It's major DIY, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100, like over the top, 100%.
Yeah.
This is
You got to work all the time.
This is punk ethos we're talking
degrees.
about here. You
But the
do your-
rewards are priceless.
You're living the life that you
Yes.
want to live.
Yeah.
Egad, you have two great blessings. One is you know what life you want to live. Most people don't,
That's
Mhm.
true.
or they deny it. 2 is you're actually doing it.
Mhm.
My goodness. How great is that?
It's
It's-
unbelievable, and we're super grateful to be able to do what we're doing, and it's not without certain things in our life that can like afford us to do this. Like our living situation is amazing on a family farm where it's like we don't have crazy debt that we're worried about. And like when we sold our house to move back here, it's like, it's all these things kind of fell.
The stars aligned.
The stars aligned for us to be able to do this. And we jumped at it because we could.
We saw it and
You
we
know?
took it.
The universe rewards acts of courage.
Absolutely.
When you commit to a thing, when you surrender to it, like Ken the Zen said,
Yeah.
that's when things begin to fall into play. And this is like I need to remind myself of this all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Trying to, fight my way along with this podcast. Have you surrendered to that?
Right. Or the definition, what does it mean?
Or,
I
yeah.
think that's the hardest question because,
Yeah.
I surrender. But what? You can't say it.
No, but on a practical level,
What does it even mean?
what
Like,
does it
I
mean?
don't know the answer, but
it's
I
worth
do
thinking
ask the
about.
question. I'm ready to
Absolutely.
surrender, but what does that even mean? And
Yeah.
how do I sign up?
Right.
Just keep your intentions pure,
Yeah.
one foot in front of the next, and you are walking the path.
And believing that you're on the right path and that you're getting to the right place and that it's possible. Like believing in possibility is such a huge thing. So when I started this show like 3 years ago now, all of my early episodes were interviews with people who were doing the thing, whether they were academics or artists or musicians or whatever, personal trainers, fitness influencers, whatever, yoga people, like
Phoenix Fire.
Phoenix Fire.
Phoenix Fire.
Phoenix Fire breathes
Jeez.
fire and like lets people staple stuff to him. That's his dream.
Hot peppers.
Hot peppers.
Carolina
Hot
Reapers.
peppers in the nose.
Wow.
I
That's
think he
his
got
dream.
5 new Guinness World Records this year. Actually,
He's got like a whack of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, and the whole reason for that was because I wanted whoever was listening to the show to begin to believe in possibility, and I wanted to myself because it was at a point in my life where I was trying real hard to be a musician, and I would have these, I'd have a tour for a few weeks or a month, and it would be like, okay, we're rolling, and then it would be over, and there would be nothing. And it was like, how do you keep going? How do you keep believing, I needed the proof, and I wanted other people to see the proof.
Yes.
And you need to believe in that proof if it's going to work for you. And I have to remind myself of that all the time. I don't know if you guys do. Or you are so busy that you just keep chugging along.
No, like it's a roller coaster, and I'm not going to lie. Say that it's, we're so busy that we just keep doing it because we are, but also we crash and it's hard.
But
you fall into, sorry, John, you fall into this, like you said, when I get home for a day and then I feel like I'm not busy, even though like I have one day to myself and I'm just like pacing downstairs, like, oh, I'm doing enough. Cause you like, as soon as it's done, then it could be done, So it's like staying that busy becomes the driving force. And like, I'm not saying that's healthy, but also it's just the mindset you kind of have to be in. It's like, all right, well, that was great. What next?
Mm-hmm.
Like that tour was awesome. Are we going back? Or are we doing something different? But like, what's happening next?
There's two busies though. There's busy, I hate this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's busy, I love this.
Right.
Yeah, totally. It lights us up.
Two different busies,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Completely.
that's where we're at.
I'm happy to be busy recording your record this weekend
Yes, me
and
too.
putting a podcast together after 8 hours of tracking today.
100%.
There's busy and there's busy.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys are going to Texas in January, which is a great synchronicity because the last Roadisode was recorded in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting how this is all
Right.
circling, isn't
With
it?
Ken and me.
Things are swirling.
On the same sort
Mostly
of
the wine.
on the same sort of trip that you guys are about to take. Have you been to Texas before?
No, we haven't.
Oh,
I had been to Texas,
Oh,
but
Josh
like
has.
we flew there. It was a hockey tournament, and like it was just I was young. I didn't see anything, right?
All
So,
right.
yeah.
All right. Ken the Zen, do you want to tell Katie and Josh about playing down in the Rio Grande Valley?
The Rio Grande Valley was, well, I've had so lucky to have lots of great experiences, but another one of my great experiences because as a musician, I've spent so many hours after midnight working and working and working. And these 55 plus parks that are around this area,
200 of them in the Rio Grande
200
Valley.
of them,
Yeah.
well, we all know they're going to bed around 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So that means you're playing matinees and late shows like 10 o'clock at the latest, or some of those partying snowbirds. But I absolutely loved it because it was peaceful and it was quiet.
Yeah.
Even though we were making music, it was quiet down there. Where you're traveling around, a lot of other places is busy in cities, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
not really like that in the Grand Valley.
Right.
No, it's really cool. And it's like, I mean, Ken the Zen toured extensively with the Joys,
Oh yeah,
a rock and roll circus.
I lost
on
many
wheels
souls in the state of
in
Texas.
Texas,
I
blind
promise
in
you.
Texas, just
Not-
like Blackie Lawless.
Not where we were last year
No.
when everybody else got
But it's
unfortunate
like-
incidences. But yeah.
Traveling as a rock and roll band, like you're on at midnight, you're on at whatever, like your
Yeah,
show's over at 2,
Yeah.
you're packing up and you're in the van at 3. Rio Grande Valley, your show's over at 9.
and
you
everything's
get-
close.
on the set break, you get an ice cream bar.
Yeah, John does.
I do, because that's what the people at these resorts,
They love ice
they
cream.
love their ice cream.
Man.
And so it's like it's fabulous. You play for a couple hours, it's polite, people listen to you, it's
Yep.
quiet, they love you.
Yep.
And even at my advancing age, I was like a young person there. Really, really great, and it's like, it's really cool. And it's very central. Like like all these parks are very close to each other. It's a great way to spend a winter.
Yeah.
And if you go to the Super 8, you get a waffle maker that makes waffles in the shape of Texas.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Plenty of those have been digested.
Oh my goodness. I'm still working off a few of those, and those are 3 years ago.
Man, I
2
feel
years ago.
waffle.
I feel waffle about that.
We've noticed this too. Most of the gigs, they're like, happy hour from 5 to 7.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
hell yeah.
The happiest.
Yeah, we're excited
Happiest
for that.
hour. We played a Super Bowl party when we were down
We
there.
sure did.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
It was not as wild as you might think.
No.
It wasn't. There was a lot of like grumbling about chili and what's this?
Grumbling about chili.
These commercials aren't funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
yeah.
about the commercials.
But we got to say we played a Super Bowl
I'm
party.
strolling back to my
Yeah.
room.
That's right. That's right. Waiter, my bike. Yeah.
Oh, it's by golf carts.
Golf carts, yes.
I know.
Love a good
Josh has
golf
picked
cart.
us up in golf carts before.
He has.
Yeah, I feel
So-
like we'll fit in just
Yeah,
fine.
So
I love a
you,
good golf cart.
Yeah, golf carts. They got plenty.
Yeah.
They
It's
do.
amazing.
And the most freaking fabulous Mexican food,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
it's 20 minutes from the Mexican border, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's the real deal.
Yeah. Well, some people would say authentic, right?
Authentic.
Come to my restaurant. It's authentic. Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I promise you this: if you say the word, it's authentic. It is not,
It's not.
Yeah.
because you don't need to say it.
Yeah.
It's already authentic until you say that it is. Then it is not.
Mm,
Keep that in mind when you're making friends.
that's intense.
I'm authentic. You're not, because you're lying right now.
Ken the Zen freaking us out. I'm talking about Texas pancakes here and
Oh,
waffles.
jeez.
Ken the
Sorry.
Zen's going
Well,
deep.
you know what happened
real
last time I
deep.
was in Texas? I had to listen to people argue at breakfast every morning whether COVID was real
Yeah.
or not, because it was just starting.
It
And that
was.
was when we were in Texas, right when they were holding the ships hostage, let's say.
Right.
And then we had people eating with us that canceled their, trips, ferries, all because of that. So it was a little bit.
Yeah, they were seniors.
It gets me
retirees.
fired up a little bit,
Yeah.
and everybody's life always changed.
And
So-
it was
Yeah,
like
100%.
we'd go down to hotel breakfast in the morning, and it would be like they'd have like Fox News or whatever on the
Yeah.
TV in the breakfast room,
Mhm.
and they began reporting about this curious virus that was going around and what would this mean, and
Yeah.
I mean that was
What a time.
January
So
into
freaky.
February, and we look back at it now. It's like we didn't know we were on the precipice of
Right.
everything
I know.
changing.
Yeah.
You know, at the
100%.
time, it just seemed like, okay, maybe they're trumping up this news story.
Right.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And when now we look back and it's like, oh wow,
Yeah.
we didn't know what we were in
Yeah,
for.
things won't
Yeah,
ever
we were
quite
like,
be
oh,
the
a
same.
couple
I don't-
weeks and we'll have to.
There was a lot of things, yeah. Well, I mean, we were eating with people that are Texans and follow the word of Trump closely. So it was really hard just being an empath too, and feeling everybody being scared. And then not only that, a lot of people were at home when it hit. So it was like, okay, I'm at home. I got to change my day job or whatever.
Right.
But we were out of a country,
Scary.
and it was like, what? And a country that might not have the best healthcare. And it was like, what are we going to do? So kind of like racing home too is always in the back of your mind. We got to get out of here. So
Yeah.
We just got in under the door before
it was
closed.
a tiny, tiny traumatic. Yeah. Came back, played 2 shows, and then North America was closed, and everywhere else, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was wild. Like we had a trip booked to Mexico, my wife and I. So we got back late February from
Yeah.
Texas.
Yep.
And then like almost immediately I went to Mexico for a week and it was ramping up. And then by the time we got back from Mexico, like the toilet paper rush had started.
Wild.
Like the chaos had started. And that was March of 2020. And by June of 2020, I lost my mind. Like my anxiety exploded.
Yeah.
And it's not recovered since. Like we didn't know at the time that life was about to my life utterly changed. Like
It's
my
changed.
mental everything.
Mhm.
Ultimately for the best. Like when I work through all of this, ultimately for the best. But my goodness, it exploded me. It really did.
Yeah.
What was the last event you think, John? You're a fan of the past, where everything kind of changed in a worldwide way. Like, what do you think?
9/11.
9/11, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
20
amazing.
years ago. And that was devastating too. And I remember myself actually having many mental health problems when that happened. I thought that was it for the world. Like,
Yeah.
don't attack the States, man. That's kind of what I've been bred my whole life. And then there it
Yeah.
was. It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I just had a baby 6 months ago. Now what?
Right.
So-
I mean,
But 20 years later, it's okay as far as that goes. So we'll be okay too.
but things have in some ways changed utterly though as well. Like not just with air travel and take off your shoes and that kind of stuff, but not that this is a political program, but I think a lot of the divide we see now, right and left, probably stems back to 9/11 in some way and conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And it goes hand in hand with social media and like there's a lot of ingredients in this, but I think 9/11 was pivotal in that way too.
Yeah.
But every time I
agree
watch
with you.
like the anniversary comes, I remember where I was. Were you guys even alive when 9/11 happened?
Yes.
How
I
old
was-
were you when 9/11
I was in
happened?
high school.
I
I think
was
I was
in
in
high
grade
school, yeah.
10. Grade 10 or 11. I remember I remember as soon as we had found out, I think everybody remembers where they were standing when they
I
they
watched
found
it
out about it.
live.
So did
Yeah, I watched the second one live because we went home. We all went
Oh.
home from school and we like glued to the TV and we saw the second plane come in. And but yeah, like I remember where I was standing the moment I found out about
Mm-hmm.
it. And there was like people running up and down the halls like, going to war. I was like, what's
Totally.
happening?
Yeah,
Like, what are
I
you talking
remember.
about? And just again, like definitely worldwide changing for sure. And like the taking off your shoes at the airport is not that big of a deal,
Oh,
No,
gosh,
it isn't.
all things
It isn't.
considered.
Every single time, almost, I can't say every because I would be lying, but I'm going to say around 80% of the time I go through security, I have to lift my shirt up and they swab my belly.
Just swallow a spoon or something?
I don't know, but I'm always, usually with my wife and she's, she can't believe it, but it happens all the time. I've never seen it to anybody else, but to me, I don't know why.
Are abs of steel jokes too?
You can say whatever you want. I don't get it.
I've
Yeah,
got
that's
two things
But
to
for
say.
real.
I got two things to say about you and airport security lines. Number
Okay.
one, you get pulled over every time
Yeah.
with curious looks because they think you have a bomb in your suitcase, but it's pedals.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The music gear.
Yeah.
Or a corkscrew.
Definitely corkscrew. You
that
got to travel with
happens-
corkscrews.
It happens especially us
Roadisodes.
on tour because we need to open the multiple bottles of wine we're going to drink every night,
Yeah.
Mm,
which happens.
sure did.
When we tour with you guys, we'll show you what we're talking about.
I think
Okay.
we're doing a good job right
It's
now.
gonna- yeah, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that this is a real curiosity, but it won't surprise you. But I've never in my life seen more stone-faced airport attendants and security people laughing their asses off at somebody than Ken the Zen. You have this way of disarming people and making them break and laugh.
Yeah, I tickled them.
Well, there's that.
You did.
Oh, gosh, no.
I was gonna say that might get you in
No,
their
I'm
little
not
jail there.
bold, but I
so
mean, if I see an
freaking true.
armpit,
I've seen it many times, you know?
it's true. I do have a connection with some people,
You have
and,
a way.
and I really, I guess my goal is to make other people feel good. I had some friends at my house a couple months ago, actually. So we were sitting around and having some drinks, and I asked them, if you had any superpower, what would you want? So they answered all their selfish bullshit. And then, no, I'm just kidding. But then it came to me, it was like, what would you want? And I said, I think if I had the most important superpower to me would be to make somebody else laugh. And they said, you could have anything. Why would you want that? I say, because nothing makes me feel better than making somebody else laugh.
You have that superpower.
So maybe you know, with intention and all that stuff, I'm not afraid to look at people, no matter their power, if that even exists, and just connect, right? They're just at work, just like me, going through the airport. We're both at work.
That's the job, yeah.
Yeah. So,
but
thank you. Thank you.
If you are a musician who is lucky enough to be at the airport for work, then good for you.
That's right.
Truth be told.
That's right.
Yeah.
Those beers are good.
Back in my fiction days, I probably shouldn't even say this, but back in my fiction days, I was writing a book and I had a character, and this discussion came up. What would your superpower be?
Oh, interesting.
And the one character wanted the superpower to become invisible. I can't even finish the rest of the story. Anyways,
I like where you're going.
It was dirty. That was one
PG.
character, but the other character, the main character, when he sat and thought about it, he wanted the power to do what Superman could do, which was fly fast enough to spin the world backward and reverse time.
Oh,
Right.
It was a kind of a sad, angsty novel, because I was a sad, angsty writer back in the day. But yeah, this was a recurring theme, this Superman theme. But the other dude wanted to do pervy stuff invisible. Comic relief.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's one and the same. I mean, Superman.
What's pervy about Superman?
You never seen the movie when he's like, assaulting Lois Lane by looking through her clothes?
Oh, well.
Super perv is what I say.
Well,
And ladies don't like him anyways.
Super
Faster than speeding a bullet.
Like, what's that Family Guy episode where all of his Clark Kent's co-workers all develop breast cancer because he's just been lasering their boobs with his x-ray vision the whole time?
Family Guy.
Family Guy.
It wasn't me. I didn't come up with it. But I don't know.
Family.
Maybe Ken's onto something. Super perv.
I'm usually on something.
He's usually on something. Yeah, absolutely.
Deep thought
When
and
you-
contemplation.
Right?
When you said, like, what would your superpower be? I started
Katie?
thinking about it myself.
Yeah. Let's
First thing
talk.
that came to my mind was levitating. And I don't know.
But not flying?
Yeah, you just want to
levitating?
get 2 inches
you
off the
think?
ground. That's
How
it.
far do you want to go?
Yeah.
Well, I can move around, I think.
Oh.
I don't have to, but like, I have reoccurring dreams that I levitate and that I can lift myself off the ground. And that people are like, how are you doing it? And like putting their hands underneath and I'm just kind of like, I'm light as a feather. I'm able to just like lift up and kind of move through the air. And that's like a dream that I have often. So this is something that I just thought of. I'm like, I don't know.
What do you think that
Flying
represents to you?
levitation?
What is the symbolism there?
I've looked into it. There's various things, obviously, depending on who's saying it. But I think like the one thing was just like that you're trying to like raise your vibration, maybe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Visiting people on alternate planes.
Well, I will tell you this, that I have the great fortune of knowing many people. And I know like one of the head witches of Canada. And I've spent time with this lady, and she's beautiful. But she does not walk. She floats everywhere. And I don't mean you're staring at her feet and, oh my God, she's in the air. That's not what I'm talking about. You're walking with her or conversating with her, and she's floating everywhere. And it's absolutely amazing.
Is that our friend Mary?
Mary, of course. And she's wonderful. So I've seen it for real. And you probably just have the same gifts and maybe haven't practiced them up yet.
Maybe.
I would guess.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I don't know.
I do an
I'm a
annual,
warlock,
I do an
I've been
annual
told.
tarot reading with Mary the Witch. She's freaking fabulous. What's your superpower, Josh, or what do you wish it could be?
I don't know. Never really thought about it. Been trying the last couple of minutes.
Tasty licks.
Yeah. To be able to melt faces on the
Melting.
guitar. And done. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I guess if I could do anything, it would just be able to keep, my superpower would be able to be youthful, but not forever. You know what I mean? Like if I could have my peak functioning body, but at 95, I still peace out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like live forever. I just want to be like 95 and be like, still be able to like swing a golf club
while you're alive. Feel like you're still
like you're alive, which I feel like we're kind of doing anyways, because it's like I feel more alive now than I did when I was 20. But
me too.
But everything everything just aches a little more. So like, if the aches could, my superpower would be to like just have no aches and pains.
That's amazing. So, John, 2 years ago, I also had a tarot reading with Mary, of course. It was wonderful. And she was saying, you know, obviously I'm a musician. What am I going to do with my life? The world is over. Blah, blah, blah. And she said, well, you're going to meet a couple of musicians and you're going to perform with this blonde girl singer. And I was at the time. And I was like, oh, mention it. And she's like, no. It's not going to be that one. There's going to be somebody else coming into your life. And 2 years later, here I am performing
with Katie Pascoe,
with a blonde, long-haired singer, which is all she could give me. But
hello.
Hello. So we're here.
But it's true.
So
it's true story.
In that tarot reading, was there anything that suggested Grammys, Junos?
Those kind of things, honestly, for me, I don't know. I just want to smile and make other people smile. I don't care.
Well,
but that was her answer to you wondering what was going to happen in your music career.
With my career going forward, you know, whether I was even going to be in music,
right,
and such,
right.
And that is what she said.
Interesting.
2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very wild.
Here
it's
you
intense.
Are. Here you are.
I am here, I think.
And it can't be like a misjudgment. It's not me. I have gray hair.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not you.
This tall, long-haired,
long-haired.
Drink of water.
Might be girl, might be boy. Not sure.
Yeah, it's human, maybe.
I love the tarot. I think the tarot
it was fascinating.
Yeah.
I've never done a tarot reading.
Yeah. I've had two. So I had that one, and then the one before that, I had the lady had told me something along the lines that I had the power of light or something, the most powerful card you can have, and it was to share, you know, happiness with everybody, basically. So that's not maybe it's my goal. I don't know, but I was told that too.
It's not a bad goal to have.
Of course, at that time I was like, right. I was very selfish, very into myself. But true. If I think about, I've had two. Mm-hmm. That was the first one, which I didn't take as seriously, just because the person I didn't take seriously. But as I mentioned about Mary, I absolutely take her seriously.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. So, she's someone you take seriously.
Yep, there's no question. I've known her a long time.
She's powerful.
Very.
She has a thing.
It's interesting that we all have kind of like a similar story with like a psychic or some sort of medium. We have a lot of that in our life too. Like Josh has an aunt, like a family friend, but super close. So they call her aunt. She's clairvoyant, I guess, like Reiki master kind of thing. And she always like gives us little tidbits here and there too. Like right before I quit my job and told my mom what I wanted to do, she called me and never get a phone call from her ever. And so she called me and she was like, "What are you going to do?" And just out of the blue, like, no setup, no nothing. It was like, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I going to do? Well, you have this huge decision to make. And I was like, okay, what is it? Like, what are you talking about? She's like, I don't know. You tell me. I'm like, okay, what? And then she's like, well, just as long as you follow your heart, you'll always succeed. And so she said that, and she's like, that's all I can say. I know you have a big decision coming up, and just keep that in mind.
Ken's pouring wine. Nothing's
happening here.
This calls for more wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I guess this is a good segue too. And Ken has experienced this house because this house is a family farmhouse, and there's been multiple generations that have lived here in the past, and there's very interesting things that happen in this house. So do you want to tell the story? What happened to you?
Yeah, so I am here, of course, as John mentioned. We're recording with Fresh Breath. Great new album, hopefully to be out next year.
Yeah,
I would hope.
Yep.
So we're staying at their house, the lovely, gracious host that they are. So is John, as he says on his program, right?
I do.
Don't you say you're most gracious host
I've never said
a lot
that.
of times?
I've never said that.
I thought
I'm a
heard him
humble
say that.
host.
Oh, humble host.
Yes.
Great.
Of the podcast.
Gracious as well.
He's proving the
We'll just start-
graciousness right
keep
now,
the
by the way.
accolades coming.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I'm
Good
staying
gracious.
in my quarters, as it were, and heading down the stairs, and there's nobody here except for John and myself and the lovely Ruby. And this baby just cries. It's a fairly small hallway, so the sound was like pinpoint right to my ears. And I looked, obviously nobody's there. Okay, not the first thing that's been weird in my life. So I go on with it, and then got to see Josh and Katie when they arrived, and I got to hear all about this ghostly house that I'm in, which is fine. I've been in so many.
Yeah,
I
and it's
love
all-
the spirits. Thank
We've
you.
never heard the baby cry,
That's new.
which is
right.
new and interesting,
us.
and yeah, for us. So maybe it's something else coming to you. I don't know, but it's
Right.
interesting. We've got lots and lots of stories. I won't get into too many of them,
Yeah.
but like this house I've never felt discomfort in this house, but there's always something going on.
Yeah.
Like the one day you were baking a pie, and we both looked, and I went into the living room and I was changing the music, and we came back and there was just like a handprint in the flour that
Oh,
was
wow.
rolled out for the rolling pin, and we both looked at each other and we're like,
Uh-oh.
I didn't do that. Like, did you do that? Like, nope. We're like, so it's like always interesting, but it's always there's so much family, and there's no weird history here, so it always feels like there's something interesting and loving
Mhm.
going on in this
yeah.
house.
Knowing that it's family and like that this house was always, it's been in my like Griffin side of my family since 100 years
200
plus.
years or something. Yeah.
Amazing.
And it was built by them. So it's, I guess, comforting in a way, I guess.
There's family around.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
It's
interesting.
beautiful.
John's like, I can't wait to get out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
No, it is
I'm not
beautiful.
super comforted. No.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. They never feel creeped out in here
No.
anyways. It's
No.
always just
Josh he's a little bit more open to this stuff. Like I am too, but maybe I'm a little bit more closed off than you. I don't know, but he seems to get more things going on
More
than
visitations.
me.
yeah, I don't know. Just aware, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think
there's a lot of varying opinions on the matter.
of
obviously,
course.
right? So like, if anybody's listening out there that's like,
Yeah.
this is bullshit.
Well, if you
Like,
want to
well,
know the
then-
truth, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
And that is in the said afterlife that we're talking about. There's no such thing as emotion and or feeling. So it's not possible for ghosts to be angry at you. You might be projecting something that stirs things,
Mhm.
but the actual entity, there's no experience of feeling.
Right.
It just is.
Hmm.
Right? So you don't need to be scared
Right.
because nothing wants to hurt you. It might creep you out, it might freak you out, it might
Yeah,
do
it's
whatever,
your own
and you
perception,
can
right?
project whatever you like to. But the actual being is nothing but love.
Deep. It's getting deep in here,
That
guys.
Ken The Zen.
Well, I don't
getting
know.
deep.
Second bottle of wine.
Yeah, no, Ken opened the bottle of wine. So just saying. So, I mean, we're already up on an hour, kids. That's how quickly this happens. Tell us, what's the immediate future for Fresh Breath? Where are we going? What's going on here? Now that things are opening up a little bit.
Yeah, we fresh off the busiest year we've ever had. We're in the studio with you guys, super stoked. We're gonna try and get the album done as efficiently as possible, but also taking care to make sure it's what we want. We are heading to Texas in January. We have a lot of driving to do. We're driving to Texas in January, and then we are returning home, and then we are driving back to Texas in March and playing another string of shows.
Oh, great. Good
So-
for you.
Yeah, so we're kind of back and forth a little bit. We get to escape the winter a little bit.
That's
Yes,
great.
You'll love that.
And then we have tour plans to the west again for the summer. And of course, Barn on the Farms will be coming up this year again. So I guess it's not immediate future, but these are the what we're putting out into the universe for 2023.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Gosh, what about you, Ken The Zen?
2023. I've just been doing some reading. And in my reading, I'm just trying to figure out my place in this world and all that kind of stuff. So what I've really discovered was my purpose. And my purpose is just to serve others without compromising my own values. And that's what I'm going to work on. I'm not sure the avenue. I'm still piecing everything out. But my goal is really to help other people. And the more people I help, I'm also selfish. That will help me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my near future or my entire future. I don't know.
Interesting.
Who knows?
That's great.
Katie, anything to add to that?
I don't know. Yeah, Josh had said something the other day about like he's coming up 40 in 2023.
He's a puppy, John.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Coming up on it.
And he wants we both just want to feel our best getting older, and so we're gonna try and focus that this year too, and try and live our best lives and feel our best as well. So maybe taking a little bit more care physically.
That's great. I mean, it's compelling that you guys have been Fresh Breath as a thing since 2010, but it feels like
I've known them the whole time, by the way.
you have, haven't you?
I have. I've known these guys forever, and I've had great fortune of sharing many bills with them. And I'm just so honored to be playing with them now. I've always wanted to. I've always put in a good word whenever, my word was heard for these guys. And
Appreciate
here
it.
we are.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, you guys have been a savior for me over the past year. Because as I've told you, there have been moments in time since the pandemic when I've questioned whether I would continue as a musician, whether I was even capable of it. I mean, anxiety robbed me of a lot. Brought me a lot too, but it robbed me of a lot. And sometimes you need just a reaffirmation, I don't know if music is my full-time path anymore, but it's still part of my life. And playing with you two has been a big part of affirming that for me. So apart from supporting the podcast, you've actually kind of kept me in the game as a person who believes in this.
That's awesome, John.
Wow.
So my thanks to you for that. But what I was about to say is that you've been around since 2010, but it feels as though you're just now actually starting in a way.
It is. It's
It
like
was kind of weird that way because we like ripped off the Band-Aid and jumped in with both feet.
Yeah.
Any insert generic
something we have to remind ourselves of a
but
lot.
like it's what we finally are doing. We're
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
100% of our effort into this now instead of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So in many ways we are just starting,
Yeah.
but we're starting with
a lot under
a
our
lot of-
belts. Yeah.
Or you're just starting this phase.
Yeah,
let's
like
say.
we're starting with
Starting
a lot
this
of
phase.
experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we've got lots of experience, but we're starting from scratch at the same time. It's kind of weird.
You're also checking in at the time when a lot of people check out.
That's right.
Like
Yeah.
in the late 30s is when a lot of people are done with music.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And for obvious reasons, they got kids, they got jobs, they got whatever. But you guys are stepping in now, and I think that's really great. Like I'm genuinely impressed and inspired by what you guys are doing. There need to be more people who are living for their art.
Yes.
Or whatever the dream is, the passion is. The word passion is loaded for me. I think it's overused.
Mhm.
But what a happier place the world would be if more people were living in their van doing the thing,
Yeah.
or whatever their equivalent
or
is.
whatever that is.
Yeah, or whatever that
You know?
means to you, right?
So, to those of you who are out there listening, who have been reluctant to take that step, here's the proof that it's possible to do
Yes.
Yeah.
Cheers.
in all of these people. And so follow Fresh Breath, follow Ken The Zen, and be inspired by that. Any parting words, Josh?
Thank you so much for having us. Thanks so much
My pleasure.
for persevering with Katie and I's unique writing style. Just honestly, it's been a pleasure performing, writing, and just having a chat. So that's all I got to say.
Wonderful. Ken The Zen, any last words for us?
Oh, I guess my words would just have to be to everybody. And if you're struggling, don't give up. It's just a test, whatever that means. I've heard that from John before. But don't give up. Don't give up. That's it. 3 words. Whenever it's dark, just don't give up.
All right.
That's it.
Katie Pascoe.
Just want to say it's an honor to be on a Roadisode episode.
Hey.
Ow!
Bring it
And
back.
I feel like I'm part of the circle here.
You
and
are, indeed.
I love it, and I really love talking to you, all of you.
Thank you.
And I'm just happy that you're here with us, and I can't be any more grateful for
Many thanks.
having you guys be a part of our our trip.
It is our privilege. Does anybody want to do the check you later line? You guys
don't know
all
if I
listen to
could.
the freaking show.
I know.
I'll do it.
Katie's going to hit it. Go.
Check you later.
I can't top that. Thanks, everyone.
That's great.
Hit stop.
Boom.
Could there be something between you and me?